morning and welcome to the Knowing Show. I am your host, Christene Marie. Y'all, we are going to be diving into A Course in Miracles, lesson 116 today. We are right smack dab in the middle of a review section. A Course in Miracles is a very thick, big textbook of about, I think it's a couple hundred pages, and I've only read probably about 100 of them. But in the back end of the book, there are daily lessons for every day of the year. So 365 lessons. And so we are in the middle of going through those. We were on lesson 116. We started on lesson 1. So thank you all so much for joining me this morning. And we are going to start with just a review of some of the preceding lessons that lead up to today's, because each one, hold on, I gotta sneeze. I went on mute. Bless me. Each lesson builds on top of the other. And it's been really fascinating because when we started at the beginning, honestly, some of the lessons didn't quite make sense. But as we've been continuing our journey, and we're now, 100 plus lessons in, they're making so much more sense. And they really have this compounding effect that is incredibly powerful. So I'm grateful you're here, and we're going to go ahead and start with some of the earlier lessons leading up to today's. All right. Lesson 91, miracles are seen in light. Lesson 92, miracles are seen in light, and light and strength are one. Lesson 93, light and joy and peace abide in me. Lesson 94, I am as God created me. Lesson 113. No, I'm sorry. These reviews are within lesson 113, but lesson 95, I am one self, united with my creator. Lesson 96, salvation comes from my one self. Lesson 97, I am spirit. Lesson 98, I will accept my part in God's plan for salvation. Lesson 99, salvation is my only function here. Lesson 100, my part is essential to God's plan for salvation. Lesson 101, God's will for me is perfect happiness. God's will is perfect happiness for me, and I can suffer but from the belief that there is another will apart from His. Lesson 102, I share God's will for happiness for me. I share my Father's will for me, His Son. What He has given me is all I want. What He has given me is all there is. Y'all, these two lessons today, lesson 101, God's will for me is perfect happiness, and lesson 102, I share God's will for happiness for me. I think it's really important that we review and kind of lean into this word happiness, because from some of the conversations we've been having on the show, a lot of us, when we hear the word happiness, it feels temporary and fleeting, whereas the word joy is deeper, it's more sustained, it's more, I guess you can say, everlasting, regardless of the circumstances around us. It is an internal state regardless of external circumstances. And so as we're talking about happiness, as I'm reading here, I believe it's more so alluding to that internal enduring state regardless of external circumstances. And the thing that's so cool and so amazing is that really is God's will for us. He, in His presence, in experiencing the presence of God, in His presence is fullness of joy. And so with that, almost is this complete flip on its head of the woe is me, the martyr attitude for Christ. And I actually am so grateful. On the show previously, I've been challenged using that word martyr because it's a very sacred word if it's being used correctly. But there's a lot of folks in, I guess you could say, a religious context that I grew up with, which was very fundamentalist. And there was a lot of folks that actually their badge of honor was suffering. And there wasn't joy in concert with that. Because a mark of being in the presence of God, a mark of the fruit of experiencing God is joy. Actually, that's the second fruit. We've been talking about this over the last couple of days. You shall know a tree by its fruit. So what are the outcomes of I guess you could even say, what's the return on your investment in certain areas? So on the Knowing Show, we talk about 4 categories: the intellectual intelligence, emotional intelligence, physical intelligence, and spiritual intelligence. And for every single one on a daily basis, we are making an investment and we yield a return. And so our investment spiritually, our investment emotionally will have certain returns that is also, you can kind of know it as, you shall know a tree by its fruit. So what is the fruit in these areas of your life based on where you're investing? And one of the key core investments in terms of having the Spirit of God living in you is joy. Yet we see this very opposite dynamic in a lot of people who say that they follow God, and I don't know about y'all, but I rarely will see joy exuding from them. There is more of this heaviness and this weight and this burdened type of, honestly, it's like their whole being is like one of kind of depression, and there's no joy. And so for me, I'm looking at that and I'm like, yeah, but the fruit of experiencing God is joy. So something's wrong here. And y'all, this is why it's so important that we know the manifestation of our return on these investments. So, for example, emotional intelligence, the definition of that is to be aware, to understand, to control, and to convey one's emotions. If we are engaging with people who are flying off the handle, if we're engaging with people who don't have it, because the second half of emotional intelligence is, and the ability to interact in interpersonal relationships with empathy and with wisdom. So if we're engaging with people who are flying off the handle, if we're engaging with people who, you feel like you're walking on eggshells because you just don't know how they're going to show up. And then also you're interacting with people that don't have empathy, that don't act with wisdom. Then the question is, okay, well, are you actually emotionally healthy? Because these are the signs of emotional health. Likewise, it's so important that we know the signs of spiritual health. And a sign of spiritual health is joy. And so if we're constantly interacting with other people or even ourselves from the state of like real dark depression, I think that that's a good opportunity to look in the mirror and say, am I spiritually well? Am I spiritually healthy? Because if we're void of joy, if we're void of love, then we're probably void of the real potential that we could if we were really operating in spiritual health. And y'all, it's important for us to know this because for so many people, we represent God to each other because we have yet to know God. And so if I have yet to experience God for myself, and I'm looking at Catherine over there, and Catherine's like, oh, I know God, I love God, and she's miserable all the time. I'm like, oh, well, why do I want to know God? That looks awful. So there's this really important call and this high responsibility that if you are going to say you represent God, that you know God, that you love God, and then your life needs to match that. And there's 9 different marks that indicate whether somebody is kind of on that right path. And there's 9 different fruits of living with God in you and knowing God. And one is love, joy, peace is another one, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And that's a high calling. That really, really is. Even now, as I'm saying this, I'm like, wow. I'm thinking about honestly the areas that I've been falling short. And so, okay, how then, if these 9 are the beacons and the hallmark of somebody who knows and loves God and God is in them? All right, man, I gotta go and course correct on the areas that aren't shaping up that way. And the way that we course correct is by going and abiding. And I love that word abide, which is a word that we never use in today's English. This concept of abiding is just going being. It just being with God. And even being with ourselves. Yesterday I had a really peaceful day. It was very quiet. I didn't interact with really anybody. It was just like very much so. It felt kind of like a restorative day. And I had this moment where I felt like God just like spoke to me for a moment. And for when I say that, it's just like this thought runs through my head where I'm like, oh, I think that's God giving me that thought. And I was on my way back from the gym yesterday morning after we did the show. And I realized that I will expend energy, attention, energy, like energy is in like my life force. Like literally we wake up in the morning and we have, let's liken energy to a battery pack. So you've got 100% of your energy filled, restored because you just woke up. And then over the course of the day, that energy depletes. Your battery pack starts running out. And so as I was on my way back from the gym, I just felt like God reminded me that energy is actually something that is sacred. We can't just go and dole our energy out without intention, because then we're not going to have the energy left for our family. We're not going to have the energy left for our business or for our friends or for God, even for ourselves. And so this concept that energy is sacred, man, that just completely was a reframe, because I've given my energy away so freely. And I have experienced the cost of it, where I've got nothing left for those I love because I gave it all away earlier. And so I actually want to have a show on this probably tomorrow night around energy and how to actually look at energy as if you would cash in your bank. Okay, so we've got a bank account of energy, and am I making wise investments with it? But in terms of spiritual return on investment, y'all, this is really, really important. And I'll go ahead and jump here in the chat in just a moment. If we're not seeing those fruits in our life, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control, if these 9 things are not being exhibited in our life, then it warrants a hard look of, am I spiritually healthy? Because as we read in today's lesson, it is God's will that we are experiencing happiness and that kind of joy that comes from knowing that I'm loved and knowing whose I am and knowing why I'm here and knowing that no matter what happens externally, I'm good. I've got that solid foundation. I am internally at peace and at rest. And from the presence of and knowledge of God overflows joy. So I'm going to go ahead and jump here in the chat. Give me one moment. Okay. I love prawns. Good morning. Oh, I'm so glad to see you. Morning, Habibi. Pat Smith, good morning. Zero Earth, good morning. Sachindra, the world is changing. Isn't that so true? IDEO, good morning. Ben. Thank you. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here, Ben. Patrick, good morning. P. Esrin, good morning. My name's Christine. It's good to meet you. Zero Bandit, good morning. Oak Cliff, good morning. Mr. Bradley, good morning. Grippy, good morning. Thomas Jeffrey, good morning. I am going to block Thomas because he is a little bit disruptive. Alex, I'm going to remove you. And anyone who curses in here, we're just going to go ahead and remove. Perry Guinness, good morning. Tim, good morning. User FY, good morning. Chosen One, good morning. So Hale, I'm going to go ahead and remove you as well. No, we just don't curse here. I feel like that's a pretty good basic rule. Viking Lloyd, I'm glad to see you. First Dr. Dead, he says that you seem tired. I am 100% tired. Viking Lloyd, if you want to know God, do the right thing, sacrifice all in that hour and have a little faith. That's beautiful. Nicholas, thank you. He says, she's speaking truth. Be kind or you're so kind. Thank you. Razor, good morning. Bang Top, good morning. Royce, good morning. I'm glad to see you. Matt, good morning. Black Caucasian, good morning. No Tie, good morning. You know, it's so interesting. Viking Lord, you said you can try to change, but essentially you are who you are from beginning to end. It's so funny you say that. I was just listening last night to this section in the Diary of a CEO podcast, and it was one of their most well-played, top played, most well-liked sections in a podcast, and it was about 20 minutes long, and it was all about, can you actually change? And she was talking about the power of our belief systems and the power of thought, and how our thoughts really do change the way that we show up and what happens in the world around us. And so if Viking Lord, if you're interested, I'll go ahead and share that video with you, because it took about 20 minutes to get to the good part. You know, right at the end, I was like, okay, yeah, I can really, really see what you're saying here. And I will say, you know, I think for the most part, in terms of our personality, the goal is to tell me what you think about this, y'all, all of you. I'd be really curious to hear what you have to say and what you think about this and what you've experienced. I have experienced myself changing so much internally, changing beliefs and mindsets around things that were told to me or, you know, modeled for me, versus, oh no, I actually am going to go and mine my own belief system about that. And it might actually be coming around and incorporating some of what my parents taught me versus some of what I've learned today. Sometimes it's a complete, you know, I'm going to completely redo that belief system, or sometimes it's, I'm actually going to keep that entire belief system. And so I have found and experienced significant change as a result of doing the work of questioning, you know, what do I believe about myself, about the world around me, about business, about finances. We have belief systems for every single area of life. And those pre-existing belief systems can be the very ones that actually prevent us or propel us to being able to actualize on our real potential. And so when it comes to changing who we are, I think we can change a lot about our mind. I think our mind actually is very moldable, and then our body responds in accordance with our mind. But then to your point about who we are, who we were uniquely made to be, like our personality, that's where it's like, oh man, like what a blessing to walk in the fullness of your unique identity. And I think so much of that is we have to know who we are in order to actually do that. So it's, to your point, Viking Lloyd, I love what you're saying. You know, Michelangelo was asked, how did you sculpt David? And he said, I stripped away who David was not. So I actually think the goal is to return to who we were at the beginning, to strip away everything that's been added to us without intention, without intelligent intention and meaning and desire, but rather it's just been added to us because we were trying to act out. Honestly, we will take on belief systems, we'll take on behaviors out of fear, rather than recognizing, oh, this is who I want to be. Oh man, like this is who I can become. This is the change and impact I can make in the world. Let me then learn how to engage in this way, or learn how to do conversation in this way, or take on this belief system of, you know, I'm always enough. That's more true than this what is it, scarcity mindset. Those are the kind of mindsets that we want to examine and undo. So it's that there's a really unique dynamic where we hold two at once, where we're living out the fullness of authentically who we were created to be, because no one else is us. To your point, Viking Lord, I just saw all you can be as yourself. We are all unique snowflakes. I love that. And at the same time, where am I being held back? Where am I being held back so that I can actually strip away that part of me that could even be corroding the integrity of who I was created to be? WPWW, good morning. MacB, good morning. Parveen, good morning. Thanks for joining. Good morning. Belijana, good morning. I think he messaged me on Instagram. I need to go back and look. I'm rarely on Instagram. So I saw your message come through, but it was hidden on, I think it was hidden in my messages, like the unread something, hidden somewhere. I can't remember which thread it was, but I think I saw it yesterday. So I'm going to go ahead and go and find it. Royce, yes, I am. Good to see you. Sandy Osborne, good morning. It's Viking Day. Viking Festival Day. I love that. That's epic. Oh my gosh. Terry Howe, good morning to, man, I want to go to Australia. I love the little kangaroo emojis. That's so cute. All right, y'all. I am going to be back on tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern. We're going to continue with lesson 117 tomorrow morning. And then tomorrow night, we will be doing a deeper show. I really want to talk about energy. I think that that's really important. Like looking at what we expend out, what we actually give to other people is like giving from a bank, like we would if we were spending money. So, man, do we need to be paying attention to who we're giving our energy to, because it really can be super damaging in so many ways. So with that, have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. And remember that joy is worth pursuing, and joy is actually a hallmark. If we're not in joy, that probably means that we're not healthy in either spiritual, emotional, even physical health. So joy is a hallmark of health in one degree or another. So thank you so much for joining. I will see you tomorrow night.